Welcome back. We've been talking about the Focus Foundation, and just to recap really quickly, the first one is that we are a front row focused church. The second one is that we are active in evangelism. We don't wait for them to come to us, we go to them. Now, the third component of the foundation is that we are bold in generosity. We don't want to insult God with a small faith, but instead, we want to try to outgive God, which is an impossible game to play, but we love to be generous. As a matter of fact, this church started with the mindset that we would give away 10% of every dollar that comes in from the very beginning. We've always done that. And I believe that by the grace of God, we will always do that, because I believe that we need to be bold in generosity. Not only as a church, but as individuals, God has called us to be generous because he was first generous. John 3:16, maybe you already know this one, but it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son." God was generous to us. The least that we can do is be generous back to him. This plays out in a few different ways. First, it plays out in your personal generosity. We believe that if you're a part of the local church, that we have a responsibility as believers to give back to God what is rightfully his. We call this the tithe. This is 10% of our gross income, and that's foundational for us. That's a percentage that we start with. I don't believe you should stop at 10%. I believe God might have more for you, and that if you make a way, he will make a way for you. And so we are bold in generosity. I'll never forget the time when Ashton and I were really struggling starting the church, and income was not great. I was working at Panera Bread for $7.23 an hour, and 3 kids at home, a family of 5. That is a really tough living, and maybe you've been there before. And I remember we got our tax return check back, and it was $5,000, which at that time, it's still to this day is a lot of money. And the Lord spoke to us both separately, but he spoke to us the same thing. And he said, "I want you to give that $5,000 to the church." This was the largest check we had ever written, and it was also the largest check that the church had ever received, because the church hadn't even started yet. But we were very obedient in that time. Even though it was sacrificial to us, we knew that we wanted to model being bold in generosity. And that is one of the foundational behaviors that we want from all of our leaders and all of those that serve, is that God would not be limited to a certain percentage, but instead that we would be bold in our generosity. And when you give, you allow life change to happen. It's not just about money, but it's about giving of yourself, giving of your time, giving of your talent, and then also giving of your treasure. As a church, we're going to be generous. We're going to give away training and resources and documents. I can't tell you how many church planters I have sent over policies and procedures that we've created ourselves. We've given away equipment that we weren't using anymore to church planters who were in need. We're constantly going to be generous as a church, because we know that the more generous we are, the more generous God will be to us. And so that element in the foundation, it never goes away. We will constantly be a generous church. And so I want to challenge you, if you're not giving currently, to begin to give. Maybe you can't jump from 0 to 10%, but I would encourage you to incrementally add a percentage over the course of the next few years, to where you can say, I've begun to give God more than ever before. It's the blessing of God on your life, and it's also the blessing of God on our church. We will be known for our boldness in generosity.